What is up, people? Hello and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another match preview here on the Cup Chasers podcast. That's right, it's the Carabao Cup semi-final first leg up at St. James's Park. Man City travel there looking to get a good leg up in the first game so they can go back home with a good record, easier game in the end. Of course, that's what you want to look to do when you are playing away in the first leg. So yeah, let's go ahead and get the likes up on the channel. Go ahead on the video, I should say. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Thanks for being here. Hype it up if you got any points left. And of course, I want to know who you got tonight in the comments section down below. Is it going to be the German Jack Sparrow, Mr. Voltamata, and Eddie Howe to take a good victory today? Or will it be the Viking Giants and Pep Guardiola to get the advantage here in the first leg? Of course, it's an absolutely monstrous game. It's going to be a tough game. Anytime Manchester City go up to Newcastle, you know it's going to be an absolute belter. I remember a couple of results in the past few seasons being incredible games. Certain 3-3 springs to mind. But we got some new faces, some new players, some new actors here in this game, and I'm absolutely pumped to watch this one today. There will be a watch along, of course, so don't forget to find your way back here during the game for that. But yeah, let's get stuck in this one, right into it. I want to start with the either team's record in this tournament. As we know, it used to be called the Manchester City Invitational because they've won it 8 times, second only to Liverpool. This is according to Google Gemini, of course. They did win it 4 times in a row in 2018 to 2021. It says here that Pep is the first manager to ever do that. Since 2013, they've won it a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6 times since 2013. Pep's the only manager to win it 4 times in a row, and they're tied with Liverpool for the club's most ever to win it. And I think that this tournament has, I think over the years, it's kind of, its importance, its prestige has kind of faded a little bit as the game has become more and more about money, about making money, but also I think the importance of the tournament has shifted from it being a huge cup, a huge honor to win. It's another day at Wembley, another day out, etc. And it's kind of shifted to, if you win this, it's great momentum to push on, to kick on for the rest of the season. Gives you that winning feeling, especially since the finals in March and you're going into, quarters, semis of Champions Leagues. You're getting into quarters, semis of the FA Cup as well. So obviously there are going to be some incredibly important Premier League games at those times as well. So it can be kind of a springboard, a launching board into the business end of the season. And Pep Guardiola and Manchester City have 100% made that the case. Obviously, they won the league when they won it in 2018-19. They won the league when they won it in 2020-21 as well, of course. So it's definitely proven that it can be a springboard, can be a launching point for success later on down the road in the season. And of course, it's a trip to go to Wembley. It's a chance to go to Wembley, chance to lift a trophy. So it is, of course, has that importance tacked on to it as well. Now, if we look at Newcastle's record, their recent record in this tournament is absolutely incredible. If you think about it, if you really take a look at this, since they lost the final to Manchester United in 2023, they haven't lost in this tournament. Think about that for a second. Since they reached, I think that's right. Since they reached the final in 2023 and lost to Manchester United, they haven't lost again because they won it last season, right? So, and they were undefeated in doing so to get to the final last season. And so Eddie Howe's, I think that's like 17. I think it's like one loss in 17 games, one loss in 18 games or something in this competition for Eddie Howe and the Toon. It says here before Eddie Howe's arrival, quarterfinal was a rare achievement for Newcastle. Of course, the win last season was their first cup in a long time. Yeah, it says here they've also made the semis in 3 of the last 4 seasons. So the great run even goes farther back than losing the final to Manchester United. So Newcastle's record in this tournament is impeccable. I seem to remember putting in 2 absolutely listless, disgusting, horrendous performances against them in the semifinal last season. Definitely there's a match reaction. I can picture the thumbnail. It says same old Arsenal with Martin Odegaard and his head hang low, because we were absolutely horrendous both at home and away in that game. I believe we had to go to St. James Park in the second leg, and so Man City definitely have that advantage this season, as they get to go to St. James's Park first. It's definitely an advantage, especially when you're playing Newcastle. Imagine having to go and I don't have to imagine. Arsenal were down 2-0 and had to go to St. James to try to pull that back last season. It's an absolute nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. You never want to have to be in that situation. And I'm sure Man City are certainly grateful for that. Newcastle, the exact opposite, because if Newcastle away is a tough fixture, then going to the Etihad, yeah, it's going to be tough. So Newcastle definitely are going to have to look to push the home advantage today and make sure that they take a lead into the second leg. Both teams' record in this tournament is incredible, impeccable, and you would expect, just based on history, that the winner of this tournament would probably come from this fixture, just based on history and their recent run in the tournament. But of course, I'm hoping for something different this year. But if we look at what the prospective lineups might be tonight, Newcastle Guardiola, of course, it says out for a long time. That's all it says. Here I'm looking at the Premier League, the PremierInjuries.com, showing who may or may not be there this evening. Looking like Stones is out. Kovacic has been out for a while. Of course, Diaz will not feature. Oscar Bob still out. Marmoush and Ait-Nouri are. Oh wow, Savio is out too. Marmoush and Ait-Nouri are still at AFCON. So it's definitely looking like we're probably going to see Max Alane and Kusanov at the back. Will it be Nico O'Reilly or Ake at left back? I mean, it could even be Ake and Kusanov in there in the middle, just for experience sake. But I've just heard over on LB's channel, he's doing a preview as well. Shout out LB, go subscribe to his channel. Of course, he was talking about how a lot of people within the club are really, really excited about Max Alane and think that he, with another handful of good performances, he's already done enough at the club and shown enough at the club that he might get to stay for the next season, especially if Man City do not get Mark Gahey. They're going to absolutely need him for this run of games coming up, because it's a harsh one for Man City. So it's interesting how they will approach this one. If you take that into context, will Rodri play tonight is a huge question, because if I'm not mistaken, it is the Manchester Derby at the weekend. And so lots of questions around personnel for Pep today. I'm sure his presser will be soon if he hasn't already given it. So it's a big question. Yeah. And it's the lunchtime kickoff on Saturday is the Manchester Derby at Old Trafford. So it's a big question whether or not Pep will choose to play Rodri alongside Nico Gonzalez. Not sure if Nico Gonzalez is 100% fit. He did come in and feature in their last game at the weekend. No, he didn't play in the FA. I don't think he played in the FA Cup game. But the game before that he played. So no, he may have. So in that case, let me take a look. I want to make sure. I expect him to play. I expect City to go relatively strong. I know it's if they go too light, they could get smoked. Well, I mean, we say that, but they were the backups, the second stringers did all right. Owen goal popped up a couple of times for Man City versus Exeter, of course. No, I mean, Starkey played, Reinders played, Holland played, Rodri played. Did Nico Gonzalez didn't even get on, so we'll definitely be seeing him tonight. So that makes me think that he might actually rest Rodri for this game, because as much as Nez said it on the Cup Chasers podcast on our regularly scheduled programming, as much as he was thinking that Pep may be trying to do Rodri and Nico as a double pivot at some point this season, we actually have yet to see it from the start. Every time it's been either one, it's been one or the other. As far as I can remember in recent weeks. So the fact that Rodri played against Exeter just to get some minutes, I expect him, he might have a substitute appearance in the end. But I expect him to be saved a bit more for the Manchester Derby at the weekend. Of course, City are behind by 6 points in the league, so they may be prioritizing the game at Old Trafford. This one, they will know they can't go too light, though. If you go way too light, you'll get smoked, and it'll be tough to recover this tie at home if you're already a bit too far down. As we know, Newcastle can, of course, put up a fight away from home as well. So it'll be very, very interesting to see what Pep is going to do tonight. He normally takes this tournament seriously, especially when you get to the semifinals. So he, I expect we'll see Rodri at some point, especially if the game's going against them and they're getting overrun in the midfield, which is what Newcastle looks to do. And so for Newcastle's part, they are definitely going to prioritize this game. They're definitely going to play the strongest team they can. I would be shocked to find out that they go light here, just pulling up their fixtures. Yeah, they're going full strength, man. They're away to Wolves at the weekend. They're at Molineux. Newcastle are at Molineux on Sunday. So they have an extra day, and they're playing Wolves. They're bringing the heat. They're bringing everybody. I expect their best 11. I do have their injuries pulled up here. Dan Burn may be back, maybe won't be back. I heard yesterday that he may be available for this game, maybe not. Asula looks like he's ruled out. Elanga is a late fitness test. Jacob Murphy's a late fitness test. They're going to need both of them. Livramento not being there is bad. That's bad. Fabian Schär probably not going to play. So Livramento is probably going to be Lewis Hall at left back. Livramento not going to maybe probably won't feature. And I think Livramento is definitely a better left back, better defender. Lewis Hall's pretty good going forward and can give some energy up and down that left flank. So it's going to be a very, very interesting game. Very interesting dynamics between the two. I know that in recent times, this fixture has been pretty feisty, pretty lively. Newcastle are in a good vein. They've won 4 in a row. If you count the FA Cup game, Man City are coming off of 3 draws and smashing Exeter. So it's an interesting run for Pep, especially coming up with a few really tough games in the next few days, next couple of weeks for Pep and Manchester City. If we look at the recent record at St. James's Park, it's been an absolute belter every time. But at the Etihad, Man City have wiped the floor with them. Have wiped the floor with them a couple of times recently. So I expect a lot of energy. I expect a whole lot of energy from Newcastle. I expect the fans to be raucous. I expect the stadium to be bouncing. I expect no one to be able to hear Manchester City fans up in the rafters at St. James Park. They're going to know. Eddie Howe's going to let them know. The fans are going to know. The team's going to know that this is the game. This is the one that they have to put in a performance and have to leave with something. Preferably a win for them, because it's if they don't win this one, for my money, then there's no chance. There's no way they're going through if they don't win this game, in my opinion. Man City with a chance to go to a final at home with any kind of advantage at the Etihad is going to be absolutely disgusting to get it over the line in this one. So the approaches from either team will be very, very interesting. I think that some of the Man City players, and Pep included, may have the derby in the back of their mind at the weekend. So we could see maybe a tiny bit less intensity from them. But I think once they realize that Newcastle are not going to bring a tiny bit of intensity, they're going to bring a whole boatload of it, everything they got. I think that Man City will be up for this. I think Pep will have them up for it as well. And so for me, that means it's going to be an absolute barnstormer of a game. I would love to see goals, and more goals. Of course, for my part, with my Arsenal lens on, I want to see like a 4-4 where Man City have to absolutely bust ass, have to work really, 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 really hard, and then they go into the weekend a little bit tired out and maybe drop some more points in the league. But as far as who I want to win this one to see in the final, I don't think it matters, honestly. I think going to Wembley and playing either team is going to be absolutely tough. So I guess I'd rather play Man City just to say that we beat Chelsea and Man City to a final, to a tournament, to a cup, to lifting a trophy. I think would be very, very good for this team, for the Arsenal. So it doesn't really matter to me who wins it. But I know for a fact that Newcastle absolutely, unequivocally have to bring the heat today. Absolutely have to win this one if they want to have any chance of making it through and going to Wembley. Just looking up another something here. Wow. So I looked up Eddie Howe's record against Pep Guardiola, and it's not great. It's not great at all. It doesn't look good, Eddie Howe's record against Pep Guardiola. That's insane. I think he's beat him once. Wow, 12-1. Good grief. So as far as the managerial head-to-head, Eddie Howe has not had a lot of joy versus Pep Guardiola. And the more impressive of their performances have been the draws at home, the barnstorming games at home. They beat them this season 2-1 in the Premier League. I think that was Eddie Howe's first victory over Pep in the Premier League. So it doesn't make great reading as far as the record goes, but it's going to be an excellent game tonight. I know the Newcastle fans will be up for it. The players will be up for it. And there's going to be fireworks, literally and figuratively, on the pitch, of course. I'm expecting, I think it's even out with the dynamics of Manchester City's season, meaning they will not necessarily be as focused on this game as Newcastle will be, and I think that will make for an even contest. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how Newcastle adapt to Manchester City's high line. We've seen in recent times Man City like to play that high line in transition when the ball is in the middle of the park and there's a second ball 50-50 situation and they lose it. The defense seems to step quickly. And if that's their approach this tonight against Newcastle, and I think it's going to depend on if Jacob Murphy or Anthony Alenga can play as to what the actual strategy is, because getting in behind the line can be easy. Deep runners beat high lines all day long. So if Eddie Howe can devise a strategy where maybe Anthony Gordon comes back for the ball, or Voltemata comes back for the ball and they skip Voltemata and Anthony runs in behind with an angled run from out to in, we could see a couple of breakaways. We could see some fast breaks. And Kusanov and Max Lane are going to have to do lots and lots and lots of retreating. It was always interesting to me that Pep has favored this high line stuff in recent times because Ake got burned a whole bunch versus what was their last game? It wasn't the Exeter game, obviously. It was the Brighton game. It was the Brighton game where Kadioglu was getting in behind Ake like all day long on that right-hand side. And so if we see something similar, Anthony Gordon could have a field day out on the left there for Newcastle. We know the German Jack Sparrow isn't necessarily going to burn people with his pace. So some intricate 1-2 touch stuff in the midfield combined with a quick ball from to a deep runner will break the line for Newcastle. And they got to finish. They got to be clinical. You have to be clinical against Manchester City. When you get opportunities, you 100% unequivocally have to take them. And also I think Aaron Ramsdale is going to have to be big today. Big up Aaron Ramsdale, as they say. Very happy for him that he's having a good moment. Got 4 penalty saves, I believe, in the game versus Bournemouth and the shootout versus Bournemouth. 3 or 4 penalty saves. So he's definitely feeling good right now. And, I expect him to start as well for Newcastle. It should be an absolutely barnstorming game. I'm looking for Newcastle to beat Man City's high line, and we'll get definitely some back and forth. Normally, when Newcastle go at Manchester City at home, it becomes a back and forth basketball style game. And the way that Pep has designed this high line, and now he's got Max Lane and Kusanov, who are both pacey. They both have speed at the back. And so with them covering, I definitely 100% think that Pep will be encouraged to continue with this high line kind of stuff when the ball's bouncing around in the midfield. And Eddie Howe, you got to look at that, man. Who am I? I'm some random. So obviously you would expect the coaching staff at Newcastle to have picked this stuff out if I've been able to pick it out, And so I think that's where the game could be won or lost if they can break that line really well and create a couple of chances, especially if you create a couple of chances early, and then rely on, the bludgeons, the axe wielders, the spear wielders like Joel Linton, Bruno Guimaraes, and Tonali in there, of course, just hacking on people. It's definitely going to be a bloodbath. That they're definitely going to bring the physicality. That's probably their best attribute, I would say, Newcastle, as far as what makes them tough to beat. And so they're definitely going to have to bring that to tonight against big old Erling Haaland. They can't let him get going. 10 goals versus Exeter, and he didn't score. So they would like to keep that run going for Erling Haaland. It's going to be he's probably going to be up for this one, knowing he's looking to get back on the score sheet, looking to get back into form. So he's probably going to be up for this one, and they're going to have a time of it. They're definitely going to have a time of it dealing with Erling Haaland. He's going to be up for this one. I expect him to score, but it might be 2-1. I think Newcastle can get a 2-1 here. But like I say, it's going to be about, can they break Man City's line? Will they win the second ball? If you win the second ball versus Manchester City and then play really quick in transition with deep runners versus that high line, I think Anthony Gordon might have a field day. I think he could definitely have lots of joy. It'll be probably Nathan Ake. No, it might be Rico Lewis or Mateus Nunez. Either way, they both like to get into the midfield and leave space behind them. Either way, Anthony Gordon might be licking his chops right now thinking about this. And like I say, of course they've identified it, because if I can see that's how you break Pep's line, then of course Eddie Howe's going to be able to. But what do I know? Pep is obviously going to have something for him, something to mitigate this particular type of vulnerability he's got, because of course it's Pep. He's the best. So we'll see. I'm excited for it. I'm definitely going to be doing the watch along tonight. It's going to be a barnstormer of a game. I'm hoping for lots and lots of goals. I'm hoping Man City expends lots and lots of energy and perhaps takes an L at the weekend, or at least drops points at Old Trafford. So we've definitely got our eye on all of it. Like I say, we'll be doing the watch along, so find us again right before the game starts. Thanks for being here, everybody. That's going to do it for this preview, Newcastle versus Manchester City. Hopefully the Toon Army can do one and get a good result tonight. I'm thinking maybe 2-1 for Newcastle might be the best they can hope for. But yeah, smash up the likes, hype it up if you got any of those left. Of course, subscribe if you're new. Thanks for being here. Let me know in the comments section what you're thinking. Is Newcastle going to destroy Manchester City? Will it be the other way around, or are we going to have to wait until the second leg to see what this will, the outcome of this one will be? Anyway, that's all for me. Thanks, guys. Hope y'all have a good one. I'll be back a little bit later, and you will see me next time.